Okay. Are we good?
Yes.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Good to see many faces here. Just to understand the room, how many people here are designers? Can I get a show of hands? Oh, wow. Okay. How many people are like engineering developers? Okay. And the rest of it probably sales, marketing people. Okay. Because I've been thinking a lot about how to tell this story. I'm talking about the digital transformation in media. And thinking about it, I started really with the visuals, and I was like, no, something is missing here. I need to explain a little better to really capture what I've been doing for the past 3 years. Fun fact, before joining Forbes, I was working with Nick at the New York Times at T-Brand, having a lot of fun there. And then I moved to Forbes 3 years ago. That's probably why I get to use this shirt that says edit. So I'm mostly focused on the newsroom right now. I work with various people in different teams, designers, photo researchers, reporter, editors, among other people in the newsroom, video people, and also in the company. So today we're going to dive into the world of editorial design, just putting digital before that, right? So I'll show you how we're bridging that gap between traditional print, right? Like Forbes is 118 years old magazine. So that traditional print and dynamic digital platforms, I'll share the results, some numbers with you guys, and some of the incredible artwork we've developed at Forbes over my tenure there. So, okay, let's get into it. First, the obvious, print is limited by page numbers, digital isn't. So this boundless nature demands innovative tools and workflows that can respond to that. The amount of content, it can be infinite, right? Especially in comparison to the limitations of a magazine. The other differences here in the digital realm, as you know, everything starts with these two basics. You have a catchy headline and a compelling visual or a compelling thumbnail. These aren't just elements. They travel the world. They live and pop up in news apps, social feeds, literally everywhere, websites, search results, and that kind of thing. We consider them really like the first handshake that you have with your reader, much like a magazine cover or a book cover does. And a headline sets the stage, and a thumbnail captures the spirit of the story. Really, like, ideally speaking, what they should do is make you want to dive deeper. It's make you want to click, pulls you into the story, right? This is pretty much our main job. It's to condense the essence of a story into one powerful image that says it all at a glance. Right, that's ideally what we're aiming for every day. But put simply, we turn text into visuals. For today, I'm going to be using a lot of the terms story and artwork. So we start shaping visuals from just the gist of a story. We don't need a final draft. If we're waiting for it, it's probably going to get too late, and we're going to have zero time to do anything. So we start that conversation really trying to capture the gist of the story, what the story is trying to say. And then the artwork here is also not only about the hero image. You can create a rich visual mix to tell a better story, from photos to charts to page layouts, basically things that's going to inform and captivate the reader. So what is this mess here really about? It's about how we navigate the complexities of digital design and really like staying up to date and using the latest tools to stay lean and especially creative. Diving into digital products and workflows. So at Forbes, it's really like a team sport, the newsroom there. We're tightly knit with the editorial crew who write the stories, with the social media crew that amplifies them, and also the product team building the tools that empowers us all, especially our CMS. We have a proprietary CMS that we use to publish articles, lists, and a bunch of things that Forbes does. With the editorial team, it's really about speed and clarity. You know, it's news, so things are changing every time. And if something changes and you don't know, you might waste a lot of hours doing something that it's gone. But I want to highlight 3 things here that we adopted. First was a digital calendar in Asana, allowing everyone to see real-time updates. Unlike those spreadsheets that someone would put together in January and no one look at them again, right? Like they quickly become outdated. In Asana, it's a living calendar that we're talking to the editors every day. We have a daily call with them. The other thing that we changed was really the introduction of small group chats on Slack. Before, there was a bunch of long email threads. It was horrible to find things. It would spend like hours just to understand what was going on. But also, like, we used to do large group chats, and then it was a moment that people wouldn't speak up. In smaller groups, we're really just dealing with an editor or 2 editors, reporters, me as the art director, and a designer working with us. And so people speak up, and we know what's going on, like, in real time as well. And then the last thing I want to highlight here in our work with the edit team is the system that we created, the design system for infographics. That thing is like, we sometimes spend so many hours on an infographic, and now we're like literally doing things in minutes. The social media team, I think the most important thing to highlight is how we crafted Canva templates. We were really aiming like to create a mini CMS inside Canva, and I think we got there. It's flexible, we have a bunch of different templates, and really allows the social media team to fly solo. They don't need us. They just building the things, and then what our team does is create new or update or expand the templates when needed. So that saved us a bunch of time. With the product team, I think the main thing that happened, and I'm so happy that it's happening because it really saves our time, is the creation of a components library, the adoption of it. I think we're a year into it, and it's really working. Like, we cut our development time for lists or specialists like by half. I wish I had those numbers. That's another thing that is like trying to find a number, but I was like, I don't know, but I can guarantee you that it was like cut in half. So all of this resulted in real world impact in our output quantity. That's what I'm going to be showing you, but also the quality of it. Because basically we had more time to focus on art. I think my thing there was always that it's like, what can we do in terms of design systems, in terms of automation, in terms of workflows, that we're not wasting time with something that is not as important as the header, the thumbnail image, right? Like the hero art that we call, that travels around with the headline, and it really, like, especially in Forbes case, I've seen the things that we create in other apps. Forbes, because has international Forbes magazines, they're sometimes picking up our art in Brazil or in other countries, so that thing really matters. But basically here, from 2021 to 2024, we increased by 79% of the output when you consider the number of articles published per day. I consider 250 working days, just not so everybody knows. And then the thing is, these articles are not regular articles. They are what we call at Forbes Premium, because first they come from Forbes staff editorial team, and second they're much more in-depth pieces that above it all drive subscription numbers way up when compared to regular articles. That one I cannot bring those numbers, but it's really significant, the difference between a premium and a regular article. And now for the visuals. As for our output quality, let's look at our coverage of Elon Musk buying Twitter. Do you guys remember that? that everybody was just talking about that for a moment. And then that was a real challenge for us because it's like how, I think in the space of 2 weeks, we published, I think it was like 10 or 12 stories, and then how do you keep it fresh? How do you find photos that no one is using? And because we were setting the ground up to free up space, to free up mind space, to free up energy to really focus on custom artwork, we were able to craft unique graphics that really made our stories pop. Especially because everybody, all the news outlets were moving quick like us, but a lot of them were using the exact same photos. I remember at the time going to Google News just to see what other people were doing, and it's like, I swear I saw like 3 different publishers using the exact same photo. So I think that's our goal too when we're doing that. Our TikTok coverage tells a similar story. So the difference that is that it's more like over time. I think we're getting to, the climax there with TikTok being banned, being sold, and we've been reporting on it and capturing that. But I think here, Elon is a person, TikTok is a company for sure, but that's the only difference there. And then the fun fact too, like when I joined Forbes, the TikTok logo, only the icon, right? Like I wanted to use that, and the editor says, wait, what are you doing? No one knows what that is about. And then like 3 years later, it's a big difference. Like we end up using the little logo as a character and, playing with it because it's so recognizable. It's really like, it's a cultural symbol, right? Like, and we are constantly trying to capture that. And it's a good segue to business stories because like that cultural symbol, it's the logo, right? Or some sort of corporate symbologies or, but basically the business stories are really central to Forbes. They often explore the industry more broadly, but also highlight companies, making a lot of money or not. And here too, we capitalize on the power of the logos and the symbols to capture attention and oftentimes also to enhance our storytelling. Tech stories is a fun thing, but they're very challenging because like almost right from the get-go, it gets conceptual because it's so hard to tell the story and how do you capture that. I think also our tech team publishes a lot, and they're covering companies' trends, profiles, but also more like the broader cultural impact of technology. And it's challenging but fun because you can really have fun with those. It's completely different when you're doing a profile of a billionaire, right? Like, because like what can you do there better than a photo? Usually that's not the case with tech stories. In a similar way, the money stories are similar, right? It's like talking about the stock market, cryptocurrencies, but also personal finance. What can you do with your money? And for sure, conceptual visuals help here too. And especially like, because I tell the designers, like, we work for Forbes. If you're using a dollar bill, you can do a lot with that, but does it really do anything? It's so generic. So, like, how do you talk about currency without necessarily just rely on that to tell the story? And then this one, I'm not sure if you heard, but, apparently AI is a thing. And that's a thing for sure became a hot topic. And like many, Forbes expanded its coverage. It's another type of stories that provide rich fuel for creative conceptualization. Especially, this one is a little different because it's a new technology that's still unfamiliar to many. So it adds it's similar to tech stories, but add a special flavor there because of it. The political stories that Forbes covered, they span across the globe, from the US to international, to other countries. This one was, it's pretty much like a Forbes story. if you read the headline, it's private jets and helicopters that has been sanctioned by Russian billionaires. It's straight up like Forbes, and then that gives you like a sense of Forbes cover politics in a different way than other publishers, right? It focuses on influential figures from billionaires to key policymakers. It usually tends to focus on the people that are shaping economies worldwide. And basically, like, it tells the story of how power impacts decisions in the global stage and also domestic policies. Are you guys being able to see everything? I'm moving too fast?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, and then, but we also like to have fun. And lifestyle stories are fun. This one we did during the COVID too, and it was basically like capturing people were bored apparently, or people needed something else. But this story was cool because I'm originally from Brazil, and then I went to Brazil, and then I was just like checking magazines on a newspaper stand, like design nerds do, and then I saw Forbes, and then I opened, and this illustration was there. It was pretty cool to see that they picked up the art there. But on lifestyle, we cover a lot of ground. There is, for instance, let me see, I need to sync here. Yeah, this is the end of year gift guide that we do. So it's a list from A to Z. We cover things like the highest paid dead celebrities. I don't know if you saw that before, but this is 2021, and then 2022. We cover travel, we cover entertainment too. And a lot of weed. There's an editor that likes these stories, but then again, it's like, it's from that economic or business angle, right? He usually gets mad. He says like, listen, this is not the regular stoner. These are $1 million companies making money with weed. Don't put a stoner on the illustration type of thing, you know. And then we also have the sports section. It's a lot of it is about lists. So you would have like this one, for instance, is the sports agents and sports agencies. And it was like a cool challenge, and we kind of wanted them to share something. And in the end, they shared like the most important thing, literally the tools of the trade for sports. Other things include, there is a lot of like highest paid athletes in the NBA, MLB, NFL, tennis, soccer, golf too, and other sports. These are fun, and this is another one. If you notice, like, you're gonna see that we use a lot of mainly only photography. That's also an editor that talks a lot about that, like how, and I think everybody understands why, right? Like, it's like LeBron James' face. It's probably as powerful as Nike logo, right? Like, it drags their attention. So that's one thing that we're always paying attention doing sports. And besides that, like, they have cool moves, right? Like, for instance, you can always catch them in doing something fun or showing that the movement and the capturing the energy of their sport. The other thing that was pretty cool that happened with our streamline approach, it freed us up to dive deep into visual storytelling. This example was a custom-made comic, and this story is crazy. Like, it's really crazy, but basically what talks about is like meme stock investors turn almost cult-like, and it covers like at one point there was a woman where there's a pigeon in the story, and that was part of the story for real. Like, it was a YouTuber, and it was all part of this. That in the end, if you read, you're gonna get out of there with a clearer understanding of how the stock market functions. But we're really trying to capture that with a visual story, so it kind of hooks you in, versus giving you a book to read about that. And then to wrap it up here, the examples, it's Forbes. We have a lot of lists. We have lists for basically everything. We just published one, for instance, today. It's not a full list, but it's the architects, the best architects, best wealth managers, the best athletes. There's a lot of lists. This one here, it was the latest, the Global 2000. This is the largest 2,000 companies in the world. For this one, we really wanted to capture the world, right? Like we wanted to feel like a global village, and that's kind of what we're trying to do there. In case you're wondering, yes, it says Global 2000 in a lot of different languages. That was another cool thing that we wanted to do. And then we have things like the 400 richest people in America, America's top colleges, the Cloud 100 listing the top private companies in, some more wheat there, but the private companies in cloud computing. And then we have lists like under 30. This one was a special edition of under 30. It's called under 30 local. So finding entrepreneurs under 30 in different American cities. I really like the America's Top Colleges. This is brand new, and this one too, I think is that's why it's a highlight. The cannabis, I think, is also one of my favorites illustrations that we've done. And then what's next? I think one thing that I wanted to say is like, everything that I'm telling you guys, it's not like, look at the right way of doing something. I think you really have to adapt. You really have to understand how the people that are there already work. It's been a very good learning progress for me there. But I think for sure more artwork. I think that's our main task there. The other thing that I've been talking a lot to, we call them business intelligence people, but it's basically like data, audience data, and then that's the thing that we're really paying attention. I think that even drives to the homepage conversation. We had a few conversations where we're like pointing out to the fact that the homepage was the third most accessed URL in Forbes website, and some people still were like debating opinions and things like that. We're like, guys, this is data, and I think like instilling that, right, like it's not my opinion, it's not what I think or what I prefer. But bringing more that into the newsroom, not only for the stories that we're doing, but also for new products, or new editorial products. I think the other thing is design systems, right? Like we're already started on that, but I can see it growing even more. The components library too, we started on that. We've been using it for 1 year now, and the coolest thing about the components library is that we used to work with 3 different CMS. Now we're down to 2, and eventually want to get down to 1, right? I can see people doing like this, and then it's like the thing that is starting to unify is like, now we have one source of truth, one source of where the components are coming from, and then applying this to our CMS, so keep that growing. And the other thing is like AI. Yes, for some stuff, I haven't seen a lot of the buzz that people say about like, especially the generative art. It hasn't been working for us. The other thing is because it's Forbes, it's not me sitting at my computer doing whatever I want. We cannot use certain AI generative art because they don't have a disclaimer, and our lawyer doesn't like that, right? So that's pretty much what's going on. Thank you for being here. Let me know if you have any questions, or if you want to show me, go back to some of the work, or if you want to ask me about any of them in particular or anything. Yes?
Hi, Sophia from RISD, and I was curious, I'm sorry if I missed it earlier, but you had said that you developed some sort of a process to make infographics like 3 times or whatever it is much faster. And that's a problem I've seen at different higher ed places I've been, is like we spend so much time on thumbnail images, we spend so much time on that. So what got you to that ability to make them faster and just as good?
I think the thing, a few things, but I remember having one day that I saw, and I saw a designer spend 4 hours on a bar chart, and that person didn't have time to focus on the art. And I'm like, okay. And then, because it's like the designers we work with, I call them more like image makers than designers. So some of them would be more illustrators than designers. So oftentimes, like some of these charts, they would come back and, the type is too small, the color is off. And then that was the thing that really called my attention to it. I was like, this is the kind of thing we cannot be spending time. And then now to create a bar chart, it literally takes us 20 minutes.
Did you create templates for those things? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We use a third-party tool called EvolveDrupal. It's not the best, but it works. They've been putting up some updates, but yes, we create that template there, and people can go and start from a template. Yeah. Yes.
How do you handle multilingual?
Sorry, what?
So, multiple languages. So you've mentioned it a couple of times where you've got infographics that are likely going to have text embedded in them. We're using Canvas or Rasterized. So how does your team manage that?
That's a very good question. Like, we don't, on the part of the infographics, because it's an embed, we would have to create a new one. We had instances in the past that we published a story in English and another one in Spanish, and then we would be created 2 different ones and 2 different links. I think as a platform in general, we are getting there, but it needs to step up in terms of multi-language. It's still very reliable, or just using English right now. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
So, Fernando, amazing presentation, first of all.
Thank you.
So my question is kind of 2 questions. First of all, do you have on-staff illustrators, or do you work with a roster of freelance illustrators? And how much time do you have per project in general?
That's a good question.
I'm guessing you're super fast.
Yeah, it's so I would say from all the illustrations you've seen, probably top 20% of that was external. We create a lot of things in-house. When it comes to something like, it's a portrait illustration and it's 3D for sure, then we were going for external artists and partners. And what dictates that is can we plan ahead? Because in the newsroom, things change so much that it's really hard to work with freelance artists, because the thing changes, and then sometimes the editor completely changes the story, because it's it's the nature of the job. Like, they're reporting, and then that doesn't make sense anymore. And then when you're working with outside partners, it gets hard. Like, what do you do apart from paying a bunch of kill fees? But sorry, and then what was the other question?
So how much time do you have generally for?
Yeah, that one really hurts. So I think one thing that I mentioned was when I joined, people would be coming to us with a final draft, and then they would go and say, "Oh, by the way, we're trying to publish ASAP." I was what? In an hour. And then what I realized, I was guys, I don't need your final proofed, final copy to start thinking about a story. Just gives us some insights, a paragraph. We just really need that to start thinking about it. And oftentimes we go back to the editors and reporters with questions. But man, there were an illustration. That one, the Amazon one, I created that, and it was I created that in an hour, because at first the story was going. But we really we really changed that. That's not common anymore. What's common now is at least we have a day. For the next day, I would say in average 1 to 3 days. Like, that's not a good average, but yeah.
I gotta follow up.
Yep.
So do you guys work at night, overnight to publish in the morning?
No, that's rare too. Like, we're really working hard to stop at 6 p.m. You know, like we really try that. And I think a lot of the things that we did really helped with that, like for real. Okay, thanks everybody. This was fun. Thank you. Stop.